Welcome to a new Team CGC 9.8 video. Today I got a full list of some not so obvious CGC 9.8 comics to buy in 2022. So first one up is an X-Men number 139. Yeah, this one definitely flies under the radar, I think, for this era of X-Men comic books. But a pretty solid, like, secondary key issue, I would say. So Kitty Pryde joins the X-Men in this one. You also get Wolverine in his new costume. It's also first appearance of Heather Hudson, who eventually kind of becomes the leader of Alpha Flight. So yeah, this one's kind of a not so obvious one out of this era, but absolutely one you'd want to consider, I think. So there's 253 9.8s in the Universal Blue label for this one, 11.8% the 9.8 percentage. This is a pretty early 80s book, but you still like to see that, a nice low 9.8 ratio. 11.8% of all graded copies are 9.8s. So for this one, having trouble kind of finding a recent completed sale. I think this one's going to go right in that sort of 500 to 550 range in a 9.8. There's a few other books that aren't really key issues in this era that will go for sort of 400-ish. This one being a bit of a secondary key issue, I think you get an extra, 100 or 200 bucks out of it. So I think right around 550. First appearance of Heather Hudson, new Wolverine costume, kind of an under-the-radar Wolverine key, plus Kitty Pryde joins, and a decent cover on this one too. Certainly it's a part of that John Byrne, Chris Claremont, Terry Austin era of X-Men, which is so classic. So X-Men 139 is a not-so-obvious one to consider. Hopefully you get it closer to $500, I think is a pretty phenomenal deal on that one. Next one is one I just wish I had. Star Wars Annual number 3 in a 9.8. This classic Darth Vader cover. This one, somehow it's under the radar. Somehow it's a not-so-obvious one. But for me, as like a Darth Vader fan, this is like right on the top of my list as a 9.8 comic to want. Absolutely. Like, I got a Star Wars 39. That's, a real classic Darth Vader cover, part 1 of Empire Strikes Back. That one's a little bit easier to find, a little bit more obvious, but this Star Wars Annual number 3 is probably better. Is better, in my opinion, absolutely. But it's really tough to find in a 9.8, so I haven't got a chance to grab this one. But there's a 34 9.8s in the Universal Blue label, a 1 of 34. That's pretty awesome. 23.3% of all graded copies are 9.8, so pretty decent, tough 9.8 ratio for a book that's not heavily graded at all. If this one was more heavily graded, I think that 9.8 ratio would be below 20. More about the 1 of 34 in this fantastic Darth Vader classic cover. So saw one sell, $500 right on the dot in a 9.8 white pages. This was one about 2 years ago. I probably should have pulled the trigger, and there were quite a few that had sold in the $225 range. I remember one specifically looking pretty awesome for $225 that ended up selling pretty quick. But so trending up nice, I think, this one, for good reason. Darth Vader fans, yes, this one isn't very obvious one, but if you're a pretty big Darth Vader fan into the classic Star Wars books, you know about this one, and it's absolutely one to want for me. Yeah, I really wish I had that one in the 9.8. Star Wars Annual number 3, right around $500, maybe a little bit under, would just be a fantastic collector item, I think, if you're a Darth Vader fan. Okay, next one's definitely not so obvious, I would say. I didn't really know about it until doing some of the research for the video. Fantastic Four number 205, first full appearance of Nova Corps. So I actually really like the cover on this one too, on this Fantastic Four 205. It doesn't really have like Nova Corps on it, but just a really kind of cool, eye-appealing, purple-colored cover. First full appearance in Nova Corps, so there's quite a few rumors about how they might do a Nova movie sometime down the line in the MCU. And they pretty much teased that Fantastic Four is coming as well. So I think this one makes a lot of sense. There's a wild card there, maybe, that speculation kind of works out. But if not, a pretty phenomenal 9.8 just to enjoy, I think. 48 9.8s in a blue label. So a 1 of 48 if you got one of these in the top grade. I would absolutely enjoy having that. 39.3% is the 9.8 ratio. So I did see one sell of these, one of those 48 for $399.99. There's only 48 of this one. Yes, this is kind of an under-the-radar one, but maybe this wasn't a buy it now where, I would say that's a pretty fair price. But if this one kind of popped up on an auction, I think you can get it closer to 300, given that it is really, under the radar. So I think 300 to 400 for a Fantastic Four 205 and a 9.8 is kind of one to consider, and you get a little bit of a first appearance there with first full appearance of Nova Corps, and that could absolutely work out if they end up making a Nova movie, and it looks like they're absolutely going to make a Fantastic Four movie. So, okay, moving on. Next one, Champions number 19. This one probably a bit more of the speculative pick out of the 10 here. This is a first appearance of Amka Aliyak, who eventually becomes Snow Guard. And kind of cool, like myself being Canadian, she's from Nunavut, from Baffin Island in Nunavut. And I'm not sure exactly how she's like discovered in this comic book, but I thought that was kind of cool, being Canadian, kind of from the north, and becoming Snow Guard is kind of a cool Canadian superhero for sure. So Champions number 19, yeah, maybe one to consider. There's a 23 9.8s in the blue label, so definitely pretty underfollowed. This is the first appearance of, I believe, like her sort of human form. I don't think she becomes Snow Guard until the next issue, or I believe it's the issue after that. I didn't look that up this morning. 69.7% is the 9.8 percentage. So there's actually this one, there's one in Canada right now for $149.99 US dollars. And it looks like he threw that one up 4 or 5 times already, and it hasn't sold. So $150, it's not selling. I think right around $100. You wait for this on an auction, maybe get it under $100. Great cover on this one too. Yeah, Champions 19, this first print, awesome, eye-appealing cover. And maybe, for me, yeah, maybe around $100 if I saw this one pop up on an auction, or that one in Canada, if it was, maybe a little bit under 100, I would maybe consider this one, because I really like the eye appeal of the cover. And then a kind of cool Canadian superhero maybe would seal the deal for me if it was under $100 in a 9.8. I think that one might be a pretty solid one to look out for. A Champions number 19. Yeah, great cover on that one as well. First, Amka Aliyak. Next one I do have. Detective Comics number 525. Just a classic cover from this detective era of comics. I really kind of compare this to, or it's very similar, I would say, to an Amazing Spider-Man 316. It's kind of like the Killer Croc version of Amazing Spider-Man 316, where like first Killer Croc cover just looking awesome. Killer Croc's actually on a Batman 358 cover, but he's kind of in like a trench coat and you can't see his face. So this is pretty much like first cool Killer Croc cover. It is pretty much my favorite like Detective Comics cover of all time. This is just one I remember from my childhood, plus first cool Killer Croc cover. I think it's absolutely one to want if you're a Batman fan. And 57 9.8s in a Universal Blue label, a 1 of 57. I've been pretty close to picking up a second one of these. There was one in Canada, we'll talk about, that sold for $200. That was kind of sitting there for a week, and I was watching it, and I was really tempted to add another one of these. I think $200 is a great price. 37.3% is the 9.8 ratio. Mentioned that one sold for $200. Saw another one sell a while ago, but these don't sell very often. There's only 57 of them for $225. So 200 to kind of 225, even up to 250. I would, like, if it was just looking awesome in a 9.8, you're a big Batman fan, you got a long-term perspective on this one. I just think this is a great Batman cover to get around that, yeah, in that sort of 200 to 250 zone. Would be a pretty phenomenal buy on a Batman 525. Yeah, they're just the first kind of badass Killer Croc cover is a super cool one to think about. This next one's awesome too. A Star Wars number 35. First time Luke and Darth Vader face off. Yeah, this is a classic Star Wars book that is kind of making a little more sense for me. I know I was John from Action Figure Grader had this on one of his Star Wars 9.8 videos. I absolutely agree with him that it's a really cool one to think about. Sometimes these, this first Luke versus Darth Vader, that Wolverine, first Wolverine versus Deadpool versus Wolverine versus Hulk, Hulk 340. These books tend to eventually become pretty awesome key issues, and maybe this one will get there. But 55 9.8s in a blue label, so a 1 of 55 as well for first Luke versus Darth Vader. That's just sounding awesome for me. Yeah, I know he covered it on that video, and kind of instantly I was like, why don't I have this one as a big Darth Vader fan? 23.7% is the 9.8 ratio. So not too many of these see and sell on eBay, unfortunately, but I think this one's going to go right in the sort of 200 to 250 zone. If it looks awesome, 9.8 white pages, new case, I'd probably pay up to $250 for this one. Maybe if the center's a little wonky, maybe the colors aren't as good, a little closer to $200. on a Star Wars 35. Yeah, I think this one's got some underrated potential, given all those like versus key issues end up doing really well in a 9.8. So I think this one's kind of one to get in there around, 200 to 250, let's call it. Next one, Marvel Comics Presents number 79, CGC 9.8. This one is just pretty much the best Weapon X cover. I think the market has shown that it is. It's pretty much about the same price as a Marvel Comics Presents 72, which is the origin of Wolverine, the kind of first issue in this Weapon X Wolverine. That's kind of the obvious key issue. This one about the same price in the 9.8 just because it's an amazing cover. It has been trending up nice as well. So I think this is an investable one. It's a great Wolverine cover, and yeah, the market has spoken. It pretty much just on eye appeal. If you have any kind of taste, it is kind of the best Weapon X Marvel Comics Presents cover, I think. 54 9.8s in a blue label. Another one of these just awesome covers, maybe a little bit under the radar, so it just keeps pretty low numbers on the census, making them like fantastic collector items. A 1 of 54 in a 9.8. 24.7%, the 9.8 percentage. Saw one sell for $288.02. I think that's a really good price. That one was looking a little bit off-centered. I think I'd be willing to go up to like $350 on this one, I think, if it just looked absolutely awesome. About a year or two ago, I've been watching this one for quite a while. Admittedly, I've really liked this one for a while. $225, they had kind of sold around in that area, and I remember it was probably about 2 years ago. I was kind of hitting myself on one that went around $225. That was looking really awesome in a 9.8 white pages, but now they're $288.02 was an auction, so I think that's a really good price. Maybe even up to kind of $325 if it's just looking awesome in that new case 9.8 white pages. But Marvel Comics Presents 79 is just the coolest Weapon X cover, hands down. Okay, a few other Fantastic Four books. We'll kind of go for a 2-for-1 on this one because they're just classic Galactus covers. Fantastic Four 243. The classic John Byrne Galactus cover for sure is probably the more known of these two. Absolutely one to target and want. Consider Fantastic Four 210. I really like this classic Galactus cover as well. Great one to think about in a 9.8. This is one that I was watching a 9.8 about a year or two ago. It was, and in this 210 9.8, it ended up selling. It was $225. Flat buy it now, no best offer. Ended up selling probably in about 2 or 3 weeks. So for Fantastic Four 210, if you can swing that 225, I think it's a fantastic one. It might go a little, higher, thinking, maybe closer to 300 if it's just looking awesome on a Fantastic Four 210. But 243, a little bit easier to get. Let's focus on that one. 182 9.8s in a blue label, 47.6%, the 9.8 percentage, and that one sells. There was one that had sold at like a best offer, and I think it was like $350 or best offer. I think kind of $250 to $300 that one's going to sell, and maybe the newsstand edition gets up to around $400 on this one. But hopefully they bring in Fantastic Four, and they got to bring in Galactus into the MCU if they do Fantastic Four. So I think kind of now's the time to buy a few of these really cool Fantastic Four classic Galactus covers. Okay, next one I do have Wolverine 155. This is a cool one. I've sort of described this one as kind of a passing of the torch issue, where it's a bit of a Hulk 340 cover homage by Rob Liefeld. So, Hulk 340 with Hulk or Wolverine with Hulk in the reflection of Hulk in the claws. So now you got the new hero Deadpool with Wolverine reflecting in his blade. I think is a kind of cool idea for sure, and a well-executed cover, definitely a great one to look at. This one came out in the year 2000, so I think it's going to be a little bit less printed than, a lot of Marvel books, right around sort of 1998 to about 2001, 2002. The comic book market just really cooled down. Sales cooled down, prints cooled down. So this is a cool one, absolutely. If you're, Wolverine 88, we touch on quite a bit. First time Wolverine and Deadpool duke it out with that awesome cover. This is kind of second in line, I think, out of, Deadpool, Wolverine, fighting key issues, I guess, to get when they're together on one book. 182 9.8, 61.3%, the 9.8 percentage. Saw one sell just recently in an auction too. Yeah, this was about a week ago. This one ended. I think it was in Canada too, this auction. But US dollars, $173.50. That is getting up there. Yeah, I think this one's getting a little bit of notoriety. Wolverine 88 is now 400-ish, kind of, in the 9.8. 400 to 500, some of those go for. So I think people are looking for alternatives, this one's really cool. You can get it for less, $173.50. This is one I bought, 2.5 years ago, quite a long time ago, for like $52 in a stealthy auction that popped up in Canada. And just thought it would be a good one I could grab, a cheap one. But yeah, maybe gaining a little more notoriety, and for good reason. Yeah, I think certainly if you're a Deadpool or Wolverine fan, Wolverine 155 is absolutely wantable. And that's why I purchased it for sure back in the day. All right, last one. For not so obvious key issues, a Sandman number 4. First appearance of Lucifer Morningstar. I like this one. This one is absolutely trending up well too. I had recommended this one on a few videos maybe about a year ago or so, and it just kind of struck me as a pretty good one at the price. At that time, they were sort of selling for a little bit under $400, kind of in the $300 to $400 range. Trending up nice though. Yeah, a few of the sales I was seeing kind of surprised me. 123 9.8s. A 1 of 123, pretty awesome for a big first appearance in Sandman. 15.3%, the 9.8 percentage. This is, I'm pretty sure, is a late 1989 book. I'm pretty sure. Pretty fantastic. 15.3% of all graded copies are 9.8. Saw 2 of them sell for $899. Yeah, so this one I absolutely remember some not too long ago going for under 400. And like first appearance of Lucifer Morningstar, there was that Lucifer Netflix show. I think when that kind of came out, this one, got a bit of a hit, got a bit of a pop for sure. Once I got into the show, which was like 6 months ago because of my girlfriend, this one I kind of cooled down and I was like, oh, first Lucifer is kind of a cool one. I'm into the show right now. But by that time, it was like season 6 or something like that. So this one had kind of cooled off. It was around under 400. Definitely, yeah, trending right back up. That was a pullback to buy, I think. $8.99 some selling for. I think you're patient, you wait on an auction, maybe you get it a little closer to like $700. I don't know if this one's worth $900. But maybe a bit of a wild card. That Sandman Netflix show is coming. So they had the Lucifer show already. Maybe they bring in Lucifer. Maybe it's the same actor as well. I do really like the actor. He's pretty solid as a Lucifer Morningstar. So hopefully they bring him into the new Sandman show, and that'll be positive for this book. But if not, just Sandman number 4, a 1 of 123, big first appearance of Lucifer, I think is absolutely one to consider if you're a Sandman fan, for sure. All right, team, so a solid list of 10 there, not so obvious ones. Yeah, I do like some of these, under the radar key issues in the 9.8. They end up being, you get like a 1 of 57, a 1 of 23, a 1 of 48, just really cool collector items, and a lot of times there's probably some underrated potential with these ones. All right, team. Thanks so much for watching, though. I'll see you on the next one. If you're liking my content, please subscribe and hit that bell, and I'll keep you updated on future videos.